let me turn the paper. I want to thank everyone, including volunteers and everyone that has been working the last few months to make this possible. Now, Peter meanwhile will give an introduction to the panel and the people that are behind this work and behind me today. But I just want to give a heartfelt thank you to everyone. And then I do have to give some practical information before we head into what's the fun part. And so this event is live streamed. It means that there's a camera there. If you do not want to be in the picture, the sofas and the seats in the back are not in the view. But it also means that if you have a question in the end, and there will be room for questions, it's wonderful if you can use the mic, because the people that are watching the stream online would also like to hear the questions. And so this mic will be going around if you need it. Toilets are to my left and downstairs. And then I also need to give a big thank to the live team at Bergen Kunsthall, in particular Jonas, Sofia, Henrik, and June for making this happen. And a big thank you to everyone who's here. And I think this is my cue, and I will just give the word over to you. Thank you so much, and enjoy.
Thank you very much, and thank you on behalf of the festival, Borealis, to Bergen Kunsthall for having us here in the house, to Kjersti and Silja and the whole team here for making us feel so welcome, and that we can continue this amazing collaboration. So I'm going to introduce to you our brilliant panel, a couple of whom just got off a very long flight yesterday from Indonesia. 24 hours on a plane?
Yes.
Something like that.
Something
Great.
like that.
So at the end we have Chen. He's a contemporary artist born in Beijing, China, now in Berlin.
Yes.
Right, work and produces performance sculptures, video works, organizes clubs, concerts with the Asian Dope Boys label, and also works in fashion.
That's a long time ago.
That's a long time ago. Okay. Not anymore, but yeah, many strings to your bow.
Yeah.
In the middle is Siko Setyanto, a dancer and choreographer from Jakarta in Indonesia. Are you still working with the Yunmian company?
Still, yeah.
Amazing, then I'm right there. That's good. In South Korea, and collaborates regularly with Gabba Modus Operandi. You also have a school and many different projects as well. And here we have Nova Ruth Setyanto, a singer, musician, and activist born in Malang in East Java. And together with a partner, Philistine, Nova is a co-founder of Arka Kinari, a floating cultural platform on a 70-ton sailing ship, which we will talk about a bit later on in this talk. So please give a round of applause to our guests for being here. Tomorrow and Saturday will be these incredible activations of the exhibitions that you see downstairs, and it's super exciting to see this. If you haven't seen it, there's a massive whale, so go and have a look, and then you'll get a thing, because the whale is super central to this. But before we get into, I think, the multiple ecologies of this work, both in terms of symbiosis with people and planet, with fish, with animals, and also with the very literal climate activism that happens with some of the people in the work, I thought we could just zoom out a little bit and just start to contextualize this, because I realized my knowledge of Indonesia is incredibly small. Actually, I read that Indonesia has 17,500 islands. It's an archipelago that stretches over an enormous space with 270 million people. It's multi-ethnic, it's multicultural, and it's been independent of Dutch colonization since 1945. And I think 49 was the, is that right? Was the announcement of the Indonesian state, and it's been through many things since then, not least Suharto, and then a new Indonesia from 1998. So I wondered if this work is specifically focused around one place, the island of Lamalera, and the people of Lamalera. So where is that, just in this broader Indonesian, can you just place us somewhere, so in our imaginary we can work out where this is?
It's very far.
Great.
And quite expensive to get there.
Okay.
Yeah. To go to Lamalera from Java, you possibly will spend the same amount of money as you go to Europe, basically. Right. The position of Lamalera is on the very east part of Indonesia. So we call it the Wild East because not only, yes, it's part of Indonesia, but somehow the rules and regulations is becoming like too wild somehow. Our country is quite centered in Java as the center of population, but also the center of power. So apart from Java, then suddenly you don't get the same amount of information and access. So Lamalera is very, very far from Java, which is Java is a little bit on the west side of Indonesia, and Lamalera is on the other tip, the east.
Right, and so if you look at the map, it's like stretching all the way over the top of Australia almost.
Yeah.
It's kind of nearer to Australia.
It's almost touching Papua.
Papua New Guinea,
Yeah.
I think we take like a 3 transport flight and like 1 day car driving, half-day boat.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like a multiple, and then you cannot get this information clearly from the internet.
No.
Like you just have to ask around, like, oh, there is a schedule on the internet, something like that. That the boat will go from this point to another point at this hour, and then you go there, and then the boat is not going anywhere for maybe the next 2 days or
never
something.
exact schedule.
Never exact schedule.
So it's not the kind of place you just happen across. You don't wander by Lamalera. So you actually have 2 very different stories about how you encountered this part of Indonesia. Maybe Tianzhuo and Siko, you can tell us your holiday story and how you ended up there.
No, actually, that was just, it's not exactly a holiday. We were performing together in Europe on like 2022 for other project. And then back in time, China was still like in the lockdown. So I couldn't go back since I'm out, and I have to find somewhere to, to cut off the time just to wait. So since I have like money, friends and collaborator, living in Bali and Siko in Jakarta, so I just decided to go there. Then during my stay, we come up with this project. It started with a very silly topic of eating seafood. I don't want to go too much into the detail because it make me feel shame about it. And then we discovered there's a this island, there's a part of the island, not the whole island. Part of the island was living on their traditional weeding practice, and then me and Siko said, let's go and have a dig into this story.
Okay, so you heard about this kind of very small community that still has a traditional whale hunting practice, right?
Yeah.
And Siko, have you ever been out this far in Indonesia? Because it's East Nusa Tenggara province, right? So had you been out there before?
Never.
No.
So if you say it, this is holiday, for me it's nightmare holiday.
Okay.
Because,
tell us.
yeah, I didn't talk. I never told him about my problem because I have a thalassophobia,
Which is
deep water phobia.
phobia of deep water.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just okay, it is ocean.
Yeah.
So he asked me to be part of the. But it's interesting.
in my imagination, everyone living close to the sea, they know how to swim,
Yeah.
And he never told me he have this phobia of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also didn't find out during the whole shooting.
Wow. Okay. Okay, we're gonna get to the shooting because that has its own stories. But so you hear about this story and you decide to kind of head into the Wild East, okay, on these boats that don't go and the transfers, and you get to Lamalera. I mean, this is the village of Lamalera is something you can find in National Geographic kind of ethnographic studies of an indigenous community or a locally based community in this area, which has this very specific kind of syncretic religious practices that are combined with a very strong Catholicism post-colonialism. and then this whaling practice. So what do you find when you arrive in Lamalera? I mean, they weren't expecting you, right? They weren't waiting for an art project to turn up. So you two arrive, what happens?
We spent a little bit of time to explaining what are we doing here. We have like a local guide, probably the only person actually speaking English, so we can communicate, but they can communicate, of course. And yeah, we just, convincing that we were making a art video, and this is like, okay, then they take the boat for two of us and two our camera person to the ocean.
Yeah, I feel that our shooting momentum there is become also their, what's that, entertainment for them, because I'm dancing in a beach and suddenly the kids and also the old people there like laughing and also sometimes like, what are you doing? Why you dress like that? And when I try to let them know how this is about, you cannot explain that because there's this very simple community. They know about how to sail, but don't know how to dance. So yeah, I guess we come there for just to make them happy,
So I mean, just even though that you're still within Indonesia, there's this enormous culture clash between kind of Jakarta and this far eastern village, which is quite cut off from the rest of the country, right? So you're coming in almost as an outsider. Okay, that's interesting. Let's come back to your filming. You met these communities, this whaling community, because there's another whaling community called Lamalera, not Lamalera.
Not Lamalera.
Where did you meet this tradition and community the first time?
Because one of the reasons why we started this project, not this project, but the boat project, one of it is like my dream to go to the remotest places of Indonesia. And it could only be reached if you have a boat, basically. So we got invited to come to Lamalera by this community in Larantuka, which is also in the Nusa Tenggara Timur, the East Nusa Tenggara. And they are the one who said like, okay, come to Lamalera and perform here. But what we didn't know that it's a whaling island too.
So, okay, they were also whaling.
Yeah, they were also whaling. And what we also didn't know that it was actually separated into two villages, like one small island, two separate villages, and one is already choose that whaling is a history for them, and another part they're still doing whatever they can to whale, meaning that they do whatever they can, including bombing, including like many horrible things that you can imagine.
There's like a whaling-related civil war on this tiny island.
In this tiny island, and we didn't know anything about that. And the island itself, because Lamalera is mostly Catholic, and Lamalera very, very, very Muslim.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how far are they apart, Lamalera and Lamalera?
They are quite far.
Okay.
Yeah. They are quite far.
Yeah, but they're in the same kind of area of...
Yeah, but they do... What interesting is like they do have the same kind of tradition of how to whale. Like the same boat, the same spear and everything. Like everything look exactly the same. But one is Muslim, total Muslim. The other one is Catholic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were greeted with... They were happy you were there?
Half of them. and another half was trying to burn our ship. Actually, we had to leave that day because the only port was at the other half of the village, which is, we call it the bad side of the island, which is the good side of the island. They don't have the port.
Yeah.
So then we had to stop there, and then we didn't know because we have a dog, and then they don't allow dog to, like they made up a lot of stories. Basically, they said, yeah, it's a long story. I don't want to get into the detail, but in the end, they wanted to burn our ship down, and then we had to leave, and we decided to leave.
Okay.
Because it's hard to negotiate. It was like 8 hours of negotiation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you end up filming in Lamalera. That sounds like a smart move. Can you give us a sense of the role of the whale in that community, in that tradition?
I mean, from our talk with the local fishermen, and they believe when their ancestor die, they became a whale, and the whale come back as a bless and a gift from their ancestor to feed the village, because it's a volcano island. You can see from the video the sun was black, so it doesn't grow so many, things. So the sperm whale basically was their main source of food and protein, and to maintain their society to survive in the past around about 500 years. They also use whale meat, like when they catch it and they dry it and they cut it into like a strap. They use the strap as a currency to do some exchange with the mountain climb, with the like banana, potato, that kind of stuff. Also, that was this currency was maintaining a balance with the peace balance with other mountain climb. Basically, they also have different religion.
Okay.
Some of them are Muslim, and some of them are like different. They Catholic. So it's very it's very kind of like a delicate thing in the society. It link up every corner. So to say. If you have anything to add it.
Yeah, what I saw there, whale has become their core of the culture. So they believe that it's like Tianzhuo said, it's ancestor also, but the way the economic is running, also the way they believe that with whale they will survive in life. At least they still believe now this tradition should be running until I don't know when. So now the situation with the youngsters, they don't want to go to the sea because they believe it's not. I mean, in another perspective, whaling is not good for the youngsters, but for the culture, they believe this is part of the culture. So it's a dilemma in this culture. So that's why, when I talk with a youngster, they always, no, I will move to another island. No, I will move to capital city. But the older people, they will say, who will keep this culture? So for me, as an outsider, as a Javanese, it's like, wow, it's interesting, but also sad, That's the reality.
A lot of the youngsters want to be a DJ, right?
True.
Yeah.
DJ, yes.
Yeah.
And also soccer player. That's why they always wear soccer jersey.
And you're there dancing on the beach, being filmed for this work. There are movement traditions on Lamalera already, right? There are kind of traditional practices, but this artwork that is downstairs and the performance that will activate this scenography, it's not a one-to-one telling of the history of the people of Lamalera or their cultural traditions. How did you go about creating this story? Like, what inspired you, or what did you borrow from that trip to create your work?
For us, it's like because we're not making a documentary. There's like enough documentary on the internet, and a lot of them are made by European or American channel that telling they either very from the perspective of environment activists criticizing about the whale hunting, or some of them were more mutual that is what is happening for the past century, and the culture seems to need to be preserved. At the same time, the amount of whale they hunting was not really damaging the species, the existing of sperm whale. But there's like all these two different perspective about the place. But actually the work we want to make is more like inspire the place and a fictional story, but more like demonstrate there's another alternative way of thinking the ecosystem and the circle. Also symbiosis coexisting condition, which is not just human, but with the ancestor, with the whale. At the same time, is also their ancestor and the prey, and with how they managing merging Catholic and their original ancestor belief together. Or the whole circle. Also, I think the idea of ancestors are very it's quite common idea in Asian country that we believe our ancestor became kind of passed away and a ghost and protecting you, and this the whole reincarnation kind of idea, also deeply rooted in Buddhism. You can when you die, you can become ancestor, you can become a ghost, you can become somewhere else into another world, but you can also become an animal, in this kind of circle. So that is more about that, inspired by that kind of story, instead of making a documentary and taking the dance or ritual, whatever. Is actually the character and the ritual are totally fictional in our video and performance. Yeah.
And Siko, so you're embodying, there are 3 characters that appear in different ways in different performances. And you are embodying these characters, but these are characters that you've created.
Yeah. Basically, the 3 characters is, set up by Tianzhuo. But, as me as a performer, I just, because,
you bring that to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Example, the god, the Lera Bulan, because we did never get the illustration or narration story about that. So that's why how to build it become character on stage, that's my part.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you bring those. And Nova, you're 1/3 of the musical side of this with Kadapat, the duo elsewhere. Mm-hmm. What's your role in this work that we'll see later tomorrow?
My role?
Yeah. What do you do? Would it be possible to close the window at the back of the room? So it's very cold up here for some reason. Thank you. Icy Norwegian air. Please.
What is my role, Siko? He wanted me to be in the.
Okay. You are the shaman.
The shaman.
Sound shaman.
I would say bring the tone to the.
I guess because I believe strongly that there is a language beyond words that you can introduce into a space that it can make your body affected by it. Which is, in my case, I really believe that singing 5 notes that I've known from when I was a kid, which is this pentatonic scale, is strong enough, complex enough, and also somehow can resonate to people's soul, basically. And I guess Siko was feeling that way strongly on my songs, and then somehow, we are all the victim of this cosmic, somehow the universe just connected us. Like when he was contacting me, I've been wanting to dance on your voice for a long time, was that I was just having this experience in Lamalera. So it's just meant to be. And then he was just like, because Siko is, during the pandemic, he was like, do you have a new song for me to dance? Then I would send him my song, like the one that I just released, and then he would dance on it. Because for him, my voice and the notes that I've chosen really affecting his movement, his body. So my job is to activate his body, to make the characters that Tianzhuo created alive through his body. So I'm the catalysator, you call it. Yeah?
The catalyst, yeah.
Yeah, the catalyst.
Yeah.
Yeah, among
Very clear.
like that.
Yeah,
among
great.
us, only her knew exactly what is ocean because she lives in a boat.
Because you live on the boat.
That's
Yes.
why
You're definitely not
we need,
living on the boat.
Yeah.
You?
No, I'm like far away from the ocean. I'm just like a
That's why we need
dreamer.
her.
Yeah. Okay. So you connect because this notion of this connectedness within the pieces, I think, is really interesting. You talked about the community whose ancestors reincarnate as whales that they then or live on in whales, which they then hunt and eat, and there's this kind of cycle that goes through. And Nova, I was kind of interested because you are touring these coastal communities around Indonesia with your boat, connecting people back to the ocean, and it feels to me that the very real threat of the climate crisis, which is happening, of sea levels rising, means that the ocean is no longer friendly in that sense and is threatening livelihoods and ecosystems in a very real way.
Yeah.
What is it about connecting with the ocean that you think is important? What is it that...
I guess the word will be reconnecting with the
Reconnecting,
ocean.
yeah.
Because we were actually a maritime society in Nusantara, we call it, the Indonesia and beyond, yeah. We were connected by the sea as well. But there was a moment in our, I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 generations that there were so many things happen to us, our generation also, the generations before, that provoking the erasure of that memory itself, and even triggering the DNA memory, which is the fear of the sea. I have the same thing like Siko.
Okay.
I fear the sea. I'm like scared of depth. But then I learned how to respect it instead of fearing it, and then how to respect it is to bring back the function of the sea itself, which is to connect one place to another instead of separating it. So that was the beginning of the idea and realization. But of course, again, that is because of this ancestral call, you call it. But that call, maybe here you mention it as the siren call or something. But that call, either you hear it, and then you hear it and you answer that call, and then you act for it. It's all from you, like it's your choice, your option. Whether my choice is to act on that call, something like that. So I guess he was right, like he was like, oh yeah, I have this phobia. He's not the only one. Maybe like, I would say more than 80% of Indonesians, we have that. And there must be something in our mind that make us living in the archipelago, but living in fear of sea. It's crazy. It's a crazy idea. Why?
It's a crazy idea.
Yeah. So that's why I want to find that.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to be fear of the sea? It's so unimportant. It's important to be respectful of the sea. It's unimportant to be to conquer the sea is unimportant. But to respect to the sea is an important idea today, because it's the only thing that we can take care of together. It doesn't have geographical borders somehow. It's just one water that we own together, right? It's the thing that we have to take care of together.
So it's about creating a kind of new relationality to the sea. I mean, this is what I read from your work as well. Is that, you know, if you think that the people that you're going to eat are also your ancestors, it's a very different relationship that you build. There's a respect that's built into that kind of circular relationship. There's also, it's not an extractivist relationship where you just try and get as much as you can, which is often our relationship to the environment here, and certainly in Norway, because there are questions about our relationship to the sea, right, and its sustainability. So you're on your boat, and you use culture as a way of trying to reconnect people with this older memory. I'm curious to the panel, because obviously the idea of like climate art is an increasing subject. This is not climate protest art that you're making, but I think it asks a lot of important questions or asks us to think about things. And I'm just wondering how you consider the role of artists in this broader conversation around ecology, around the climate crisis.
Yeah, we spoke about it before, but as artists, what we can do is to become a good artist. That's one. Like to make the art itself becoming accessible, and then to start the conversations, of course. That is clearly our role. And of course, it has been very tricky, especially to go to like remote places of Indonesia. Because as artists, you become the frontliner of the message itself. But then you can be considered as the people who also bring the solutions. Yet we are not. We are bringing the art, the performance, the interpretation of an idea or a feeling or a disappointment. And then, but then you becoming like, you have these questions of for example, we go to Lamalera, they have this question, how can we bring you back here? Maybe we should make you a new port, for example. And they would wish us to bring that wish to the center of the population of Jawa, maybe, one day. So that kind of demand is occurred in our encounter with the traditional people. But first, what we have to do as artists, make good art that relevant to the moment that we are living in, because we have to realize that is also very temporary as well, right? Like the world will change. Like what Tianzhuo said, we believe in this cycle of life. It will change one day, it will come back maybe. But then to be able to live on this moment and to make art that is relevant to this moment, that will be the one that will make history one day. Yeah.
Yeah, also because since we just artists and all the work we were making was very, very from our perspective and interpretation. So we are not like, researcher or scientists can actually tell that, how many wheels were hung and, was there any damage to the strength of the species or any like question related to that. But we just, for me, one of the thing to why we're making the work about the ancestor is more like, a lot of time where, the trend is that asking what we can, deal and learn from AI, what the AI can create a future. But like, I would just sometimes want to asking what we could learn from our ancestor, and, what is the ancestor knowledge mean to us? It is another, kind of way of, thinking what would be a future without human or non-human, in that kind of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with Ocean Kids, I have opportunity to increasing, at least for myself, increasing my what is that? Ocean awareness. I live far away from sea. That's why maybe this for my generation, also for everybody who lives in city, with this performance is good for them. At least they taking care. Oh, there is someone who lives there, and if you are well educated and always protest them to stop whaling and everything. Don't stop only protesting. I mean, they need your help. I mean, you can help them. Yeah, I don't know, to give them opportunity to increasing their potential, not only whaling. Maybe you can come there because, yeah, for what I got there, the situation is the road is very horrible. Everything is very difficult. Even the group of junior high school, they want to showing us the dance. They should borrow the music instrument. They said, "Oh, it's close, Siko. It's only that far. That far is 3 hours by motorcycle. Then 3 hours go back."
Okay, yeah.
So for me, that's difficult situation. That's why, yeah. I mean, in Jakarta, I try to connect them to, yeah. I mean, like a ministry with all my friends there. So at least, yeah, creating new opportunity to youngsters there, and also maybe they can develop something more useful for their life.
It's very dry there as well. It's
Very dry?
Yeah,
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 okay.
yeah. Eastern Indonesia is quite dry. I mean, I have more opportunity to speak with maritime anthropologists about Lamalera because, out of curiosity. And it's a food security issue, basically.
Okay.
Because the sea is very, very deep around Lamalera. So then it's very hard for the people there to just fish normal.
So it's deeper than the normal sea?
It's very deep there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a trench, or it's a kind
It's a trench, yeah. So then that's why whales are passing through. It's very seasonal. It's only, I think, as I remember, twice a year. But now the whales are not even going that past anymore because the sea is hotter, basically. So then they don't pass through Lamalera anymore. Although last year I went to the Banda Sea, which is the deepest sea of Indonesia. It's like 7 kilometers depth.
Okay.
That's where I saw a lot of whales. In one day I saw like 7 of them passing through, which is a very nice feeling to see that, because, okay, they're still passing through Indonesia, but maybe not going through. Yeah, it's like they're choosing different route for so many reasons, basically. And mainly, it is because of climate change, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you were filming this work, you went out on a boat to find a whale. Why? But Lamalera.
I mean, you have to be there long enough to find a whale because it's like getting harder and harder. Actually, the why is like we kind of like figure out why later, but I don't think all this like the fishermen actually figure out why, because they still have hosting the meeting that they think they have less and less whale like every year. Maybe they have only catch like 2 or 4 like whale per year because they think they didn't follow the tradition of their ancestor. They sinned it, so they blame themselves for their sin, not following exactly as the way of their ancestor does. So that's why the blood is coming less and less. But also I just read it like article. It's just because this area of the sea became like a vehicle, like highway of international big ship.
Yeah.
So the noise actually made the wheel actually now passing through this water. So,
Right, so the kind of underwater sound pollution.
a
from
lot of
the shipping
other, the
lanes.
international big cargo passing through. So that make the migrant
Route.
route changing. But
Right.
the fishermen believe that is because they don't follow exactly the ancestors' rules. So it depends on which part of the story you choose to believe. but also it's like, it's also in the work, we don't tell this and that debate, but it's more like opening a door or a window to approach that kind of idea. Yeah.
So you're kind of storytelling some of these ideas through
song, even
through song, right.
Like this engine song, and in the video it's getting louder and louder, and that it's very in a indirect way. Yeah.
Right. But quite literally, you ended up having to go to Mauritius to find a whale.
Yeah, where it's also very like different. The whale became like a tourist attraction in the island, but also it's on the basically two corners of like Indian Ocean. So it's one is here and the other is there. Sometimes the whale was like traveling throughout the whole Indian Ocean. We basically film like two different islands. The fishing boat was in Lamalera, and the underwater footage of the whale was in Mauritius.
Right.
Yeah.
It feels to me like the piece has kind of embodies many of these dichotomies here between, say, kind of modernization and traditional knowledge, between kind of care for the environment and our need to move things forward for modernizing communities, between kind of thinking of the ancestors, thinking about the young kids who want to be DJs, and how to maintain, because this village cannot stay in this pristine shape. It sounds like it's being pulled by all these forces from outside and from inside.
Yeah, exactly. Not just the villager, also the whale. If you think about the relationship between whale and a human, this is like long history of the relationship is shifting. From how like it can be like their ancestor, and then in a certain age it became like product of everything. From lubricant or to the meat to the candle, then now like a tourist attraction. There's not just even the island. The whole debate around the whale was also another side of the story. That is why we insist they have to go to Mauritius to shoot the whale, because we also want to try to not get other perspective, but kind of to getting close to the whale to feel the other. At the other side of the fairy tale, instead of the ancestor, but actually when we swim down there, the whale passed by and gave us a look from underneath. It's also another like shocking moment of life too. Yeah.
Because you were freediving with the cameraman to.
Yeah. You have to freediving when there is a wheel, but otherwise they just
because the bubbles from
the bubble,
the breathing.
They hate the bubble and the noise.
Right.
So yeah, me and the camera person was there spending a little bit earlier, learn freediving, and he actually like before he come to film the wheel, he just flew to Hawaii to train himself. Because he's just normal camera guy, not underwater camera.
Okay.
I mean, not normal camera guy, but like it's a good camera guy.
So you found the right normal camera guy.
Don't know how to operate a camera in underwater. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, if you see the film, then I mean, Siko, you are also in the ocean, right? So you're overcoming your.
Yeah, but this part only. Yeah, I was so lucky because there is a boy. Named Anderson become my stuntman.
Okay.
Because same body. Because I cannot.
A stand-in. A diving stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering because I thought I'd seen you diving.
Because same body size and so.
So you have a stunt double, like underwater.
Honestly, to them like I'm screaming all the time. I cannot swim. So it's okay. Let's think.
We made like quite a progress because the water was really deep, like 4,000 kilo. Then if someone was have this phobia, it was actually kind of scary.
Yeah.
I mean, we're laughing, but it's not funny. I mean, to be in that position.
If you see in a video, I just swimming cross like that. Whoa, that's an achievement. It's best achievement of me. With no goggle, I just, I'm beautiful that.
Wow.
And it is so beautiful, but also even watching there through the laptop after we're watching the video.
Like, wow.
And it was so funny because we actually, when Siko swim, we in a like far corner and said like, Siko, come here. So in a circle, then the camera was deep down there, and I holding the camera like this,
Yeah, at least my friend is there,
Yeah.
And also I came far away from Indonesia to Mauritius, just swim like that. 50 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters, I'll do it.
Amazing. It's an expensive swimming lesson.
Yeah.
But how does it feel? Because, you are in this piece embodying these characters that are fishermen, that are gods, that are... Like, do you feel yourself in the ocean? This connection.
Yeah, that's why... Oh, I will not say it because it will be in performance. That's why it's very meaningful for me. This ocean cages for me is like, I put my life there, Not just I'm dancing. I'm okay with dancing, but through this process and how to approach her is my feeling, not just okay. I knew her because she's my idol. That's one level, but I need her energy to bring me for the last chapter of the performance is another level. Because the last chapter is for me is like squeezing my entire body, my heart, my everything. Because I feel I almost died if I just feel I don't want to be there, 3 kilometers deep and just asking Tianzhuo, how deep, Tianzhuo? Wait, 3 kilometers deep. So I'll do it because, that's why approaching my phobia and also my trauma is coming back from when I was 12 years old, drowning in the water like that. It's like together,
Yeah.
That's always, I feel like I call it back during performance. So it's easily bringing the energy, that big energy, to my stage, and I hope the audience also feel it. That's the beautiful part. Even manipulating your trauma. Everybody always say it like that. Okay, just manipulating your trauma become your energy. Blah 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 blah. I'll do it every time. That's why I never feel first satisfied with my performance. Also, second, maybe I feel like, okay, this is not final quality of the performance. Always changing all the time, and that's the beautiful part.
Thank you so much, Shay. And it's so interesting to hear these connections of you speaking of this long kind of generational trauma that is disconnecting people, and clearly a very personal trauma, but these cyclical natures of time and trying to bring back the past, thinking to the future and trying to reimagine, possibly as Indonesians here, you trying to reimagine this future that is maritime, that is connected, that takes you into a new space beyond colonial violences and political violences that the country's experienced. I would like to open up for questions shortly. If you've got any, you can start thinking of them now, so we don't have any awkward pauses. But I just wanted to ask you how it feels to take this work outside of, because this was commissioned by, I think, a theatre in Berlin and one in Japan. Yeah. Is that right? You've done it in Tokyo and in Berlin and somewhere else?
Lausanne.
And Lausanne.
Hamburg.
Right.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing in the exhibition is the scenography for a theatre show, and what we will experience over the next few days is the activation of the scenography of a theatre show within the gallery context, just to make it clear. But I kind of wonder, you've taken these stories and these ideas a long way from Lamalera, but also a long way from Indonesia, in a way, and to this very different context. Although Norway is one of the few countries that also has whaling, also has I think, is the second or third longest coastline in the world,
Yeah.
similar to Indonesia, right? So there are some similarities. But how do you feel this work resonates in a very different European context? Have you considered what that might be trying to say?
Oh, we found everywhere we performing was feel very, different. Like in a way, like I think in Berlin, it was just very intense show for the audience, and they got it more from the artistic part, like from the dance, from the music, from the visual language. That's the more of the approach to the audience, but also like some audience in Berlin from like other like Filipino friends and others that say, oh, they feel the connection with the ancestor and that stuff. And in Japan, it was also very different. I think I would say the work is quite a Asian in a way. A lot of the idea was rooted in there, and I think the audience was more like into that kind of part. Here, I was like excited to see, because yesterday we passed by this big square. They have like a monument of
whaling.
Of whaling. I have the view on the top of the monument, and the boat was sinking from the weird. That I don't know if you pay attention to that.
I know. Clearly, I'm just thinking I haven't seen it. This presumably this is at Torgallmenningen. I think the big
there's
with the
like
people
a
around the
couple
sides.
of figure around it, and it's on the top of the monument. It's basically a waiting scenario on that monument. Also, like, I know Norway was the one who actually invented the industrial waiting technique. So yeah, this is also kind of in a way to relate it to the place. So yeah, I felt like we just meant to be like playing here. Yeah.
Amazing. You wanted to add anything?
I'm just thinking about how interesting it is, like about the connection between human and whales across the world, basically, because I found it everywhere, from Norway until the tip of Australia, in the south part of Australia, which is the Aboriginal people also whale, and then it got helped by a killer whale. When the bigger whale came, then the killer whale will tell the Aboriginal people that there is a bigger whale coming. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, wow, this is interesting. The connection between the human and whales itself. There must be some sort of connection, because it just reminded me of like, my mind just go everywhere now. It's like, wow, yeah, we have such a long history of this connection, and how people think kind of the same way in the same era. There wasn't a TikTok before of how to whale, but everybody whaling the same way, from like the tip of Australia until Europe. It's very interesting. It's intriguing how we think the same way somehow across different cultures.
Right, because you mentioned this when we were talking before about, coming from Jakarta, coming from different parts of Indonesia and how do you find this connection with the Lamalera community? And you were saying there were these kind of commonalities, the betel leaves, the way that you connected with that community as a kind of, that you could bring those things back into your performance and you could think through.
But also,
without exotifying.
As our generation, somehow we got cut off from the tradition. Like, we have to search for that again. Like, we feel the longing of the Javanese traditions, yeah? But our parents, somehow, they kind of cut it off, like, this is not important. And recently, I found out that's because of fear. To express that tradition. Understandable, okay. And then our generations, we are trying to find that because we are very comfortable in that tradition, to reconnect with nature and all that. We are happy. We found our happy place, But in our case, we found that happy place, the safest place to express that is is during the performance. Somehow, it's our safe space to do these rituals that we knew how to do it in our memory. And then we like to explore that again, and then we travel to Eastern Indonesia, and then there are people that actually still doing these rituals, right? Like the whole offerings and all that. Yet they have fear that their next generation will not be able to continue there. Lamalera is only one case, but I've been to a lot of Eastern Indonesian islands that the elders, they are feeling exactly the same, which is they are afraid of the ancestral knowledge will not be passed on through the next generation. And then here we are, want to explore that, but in an era of the extinction of the ancestral knowledge. So there is like a certain sadness in that too. Like, wow, we are now living, we are happy with this feeling of ancestral knowledge, but who am I going to ask about this detail? We have to explore it ourselves now. So through Ocean Cage, I think Tianzhuo also expressed that too, that he found, like, comfort in this performance, because we are exploring that longing of the ancestral knowledge. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing. Are there any questions from the audience we could open up? Excellent one here. If you just wait a second for the microphone to come so the online audience can hear you, that would be great. Thank you.
Hello, I have a question straight to you. Why did your parents cut you off from this tradition? You were just mentioning that they were afraid. Why? What was going on? Or what were they afraid of?
There is many occasions. I guess first was the colonialism, and then we got the independence, of course. And then there is another phase, like a very heavy phase in Indonesia that is called the genocide of the 1965 genocide, where the communism is not allowed in Indonesia anymore. Therefore, whoever practiced communism, in this case also related to atheism, in this case also related to any practices that didn't follow the modern gods, basically, which is a traditional people, the one that is practices traditional knowledge was included there too. So there was a very dark time in Indonesia where people were afraid to even practice the ancestral knowledge and rituals, or even run away. For example, if you ever heard about Mentawai tribe, which is the tattoo tribe, maybe you heard about it. They also left the main island because they don't want to be discovered. That is all because of the 1965 genocide. So my parents were not intentionally cut off, but they just trying to be protective to us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so you mentioned that the village on Lamakea, that doesn't believe to put whaling in their history.
Yeah.
But is that in a way that they can also continue to maintain their sort of understanding of themselves through whales, or do they have to sort of erase it? Is that
the one that think that the whaling is already history for them?
Yeah.
I didn't get I didn't get a chance to have a long conversation with them because my ship was about to get burned by the whole village. But we had an encounter. It's like under the really old tree, just to start off, the conversation and all that. They did have this like a replica of the whaling boat that made by one of the grandson of one person there, that he learned, I think he was studying architect or something in Java, and then he came back wanting to explore the ancestral knowledge by making the maquette of this boat. So they are still proud of that tradition and still have a strong relation with the sea. But for them, they found out other method to fish and to fish more ecologically as well. And it was working for them to find food and to just pay for the education of their children, and they were fine with it. So they're still quite respectful with that history and proud of it as well. Yeah.
Hi. I was wondering about the visual part of the performance, like the makeup or the masks that you're wearing, and like how you develop that part and how it's connected to the work.
Actually, like the character of Lara Wulan, if you search online, that doesn't exist. There's like no image of it. Also, the ancestor is like totally fictional because we just thinking the rabbit ancestor is kind of ridiculous and not necessarily related to what was actually existing. The snake head was, I think, a bit inspired from like Indian god in a way, but also like fictional. I just like drew it, and we have a crazy makeup artist can just blend the face into Siko's into Siko's like look, and then of course Siko just make it alive through his performance. Yeah.
Right, because you see Siko's face on Siko's t-shirt. Merch available at the Bergen-Kunsthal bookshop, I think. Yeah. But it was interesting meeting Siko because I've only ever seen the pictures with the makeup on. So it was okay, different.
Different. Sometimes even like people come to talk to me, like, you play really great on stage. I was like, no, it's not me. But it's so ridiculous, like being messed up with the...
Yeah, I consider, creating or producing this merchandise is not me, It's someone else.
Not you. No.
Not me.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, oh, I'm so happy with this picture. And suddenly, that's me. No, it's not me. Yeah.
Amazing.
So I have just like maybe an anecdote and a question, I think, and messy notes. But here we go. So the first anecdote is, we talked briefly this connection that you mentioned now, just Peter, and also you with whales having this connection with humans, quite on different parts of the world, and obviously Norway and Iceland and Japan and Faroe Islands also have this very commercial and complicated and and then I'm half Icelandic and half Norwegian, so I think we had whale stew once per week when I grew up. And and I learned when I moved away, and for many years I lived abroad, and I learned that I shouldn't say that out loud, actually. And but as a kid, you grow up with that as your tradition, and you don't see it until you move away, obviously, and see it from different perspectives. And it was really cheap then, and now you went to the fish market today, so you probably saw you can buy whale for a fortune at the fish market. But but I kind of so that was more of this. You sort of you learn how to, and you start questioning yourself if it's your tradition that's wrong, if you should modernize your view and the way that should I defend what we did and all of these things that I'm sure everyone, have been in that position, and you start just being silent sometimes because you don't know. And it's a conflict, basically. Also between, if you're into climates and environmental issues, it becomes more and more complicated, of what you should defend, basically, and where you stand. And I think the work downstairs is this, to navigate this tension between this cultural heritage and modern environmental ethics. I think that's a beautiful picture on that downstairs. And I guess if I have a question, I guess it's this: as artists, and how do you navigate this risk of like cultural traditions being co-opted and or misunderstood in the global environmental movement? And I guess how we can ensure that traditional ecological knowledge is respected rather than romanticized sometimes. Does that make sense as a question?
Can you repeat the question again?
Sorry, it was a long one.
Yeah, it's very long. I understand it better.
I guess this balance of like romanticizing the heritage, and then it's also this, especially with the global environmental movement, this traditional ecological knowledge. How you sort of, when you work with that as a topic, as artists or musicians, or this balance I get with making it romanticized more than like respecting it. There is this like balancing act that I find difficult sometimes also. And I was just wondering if you had any sort of, I think you balanced it perfectly downstairs in the work. But
no, actually,
I'm sure it's...
For me, I just felt like it's not like, we're actually not really romanticizing the tradition, but we're actually showing the brutal like side of the living condition in a way that even the performance is like another interpretation, but a lot of the footage in there, and that it just kind of like, in a way, there's a raw violence inside of the story, that how you facing the sea, the ridge of the sea and the ridge of the prey, also the pressure of feeding your family. Also that a lot of the time it's just not like double side of two coin, it just, there's like a whole lot of negotiation and issue around that, the ecological problem that you can't say the place is waiting, so it's a battle, or good, there's like no other way to, you need to find other solution of life, and it's not just simply one answer could give to them from a Western point of view. And also, even when we're talking about like the wedding tradition, is that a lot of the place, is that actually the tradition? There's like in Japan, there's like very little place. Everything like Japanese people eating whale, that's the part of the tradition. But actually, only like certain part of Japan have the long tradition of wedding. But the whale meat entering Japan as a very common food is actually from the order of American after Second World War. So there's the history, also the tradition constantly shifting. Also in terms of, if you're thinking of the island, how they keep their tradition, and from the older and the younger is also constantly shifting. So they just like a whole very complex topic to deal with. I also think this is nothing to be really to romanticizing the thing, but actually there's like whole violence behind that. Also like the history of wedding was also like our history is constantly based on the explosive of the wheel itself. So yeah, there's so many narration around that. That's what I feel, and we are just giving a little bit of clue into that topic. Yeah.
You're not showing up with answers, as you mentioned before, right? Kind of just peeling back some of these layers and opening doors for people to become kind of sit with that ambiguity.
Hello. So thank you for such an amazing talk, all of you, and for the amazing work that I'm also very excited to see the new realization of. And I just wanted, maybe it's also a comment, but I just think it's very beautiful how you have this, so how you spoke about this sonic sort of communication between all of you in a way in the project, and how that also very much relates to the communication between, as you talked about, whale and humans, but also whales between themselves. And I think that is what is connecting also this area to the area you're talking about, and how this sound pollution is actually what is the big problem now for the whale. And I think it's like, I was just trying to find an article I read that says that the sound in the ocean has increased with like 3,300% from 1950 to 2020, which is like, you know, just, I don't even know
just
how
like
to understand.
everything in the world, basically.
Yeah.
Just like all the pollution in the world, it's the same.
Exactly, and I mean, now we're in a country where we're actually considering, or I don't know if it has been, but yeah, undersea mining, which is one of the few, maybe one of the only countries in the world. So, yes, which direction is this taking? And I think that is what is also connecting the different kind of coastal communities. So I just wanted to ask if you have any, maybe that is more a comment, but I think it's what is interesting, if you have thoughts about how the use of sound is also kind of an important part of this this story that you're telling. I don't know if you have any comments to that.
There's one whale that actually can kill us just by screaming. If they want to do it, they would. Yeah. I don't remember which one. I think it's not the sperm whale. It's orca. Another whale. Like, yeah, I think it's orca. Yeah, I think orca can kill us just by screaming.
This is not helping with getting people back in the sea.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to, you know, they can just give us the.
Sperm whale also. Sperm whale is the loudest animal in the earth.
Because they're also shaping some of the corals. Like my friend was making this experiment with sand and then putting the frequency of whales. This is a friend of my friend. And then suddenly the sand is shaping like a kind of a brain coral shape. So some of the whales, the sound is doing that. But yeah, I think as the sound people, I can understand that I would probably also be very annoyed if I were the whale. There is something really different when you are just swimming between the corals. I'm not sure if, because you don't have corals here, but maybe one day if you ever go to eastern Indonesia, you would understand. There's this like a trickling sound that is created by the breathing corals somehow. It's like this oxygen that being breathed out by the corals. So when you're swimming around the corals, you hear it in your ear. There's this thing like that, which is very beautiful and really make you very peaceful. So my comment is like, if I were the whales, I would be so annoyed too. But I also don't know why until today I didn't scream and just kill everybody around me. You understand what I mean?
You were the whale, yeah.
If I were the whale,
yeah.
I mean, I cannot comment it as a human in this point, right? I mean, you have to imagine yourself being inside the water, which is for me, I have the privilege to access that serene sounds around the corals that living so remote in Indonesia. You know, I get to see the ancestor of the corals of the whole Pacific, which is in Raja Ampat in Indonesia. So I have that privilege to see those things and to enjoy the quietness under the water. So I could only imagine if I were the whale. Yeah. Which that question is like, why I haven't screamed yet? It means that if you can imagine that, you would probably a very, very big heart whales. Like,
Yeah, actually,
has so much patience in life. Yeah.
when we film the whale, they actually get really, really close to us, and I think the youngster, the smaller one, like they really want to play with us, and he, like, you know, making the sound is like clicking and scanning you whole body, and you can feel like, holy shit, it's like he's talking to you, you know.
Yeah,
I feel like use the sonar to kind of like scanning your body, and you know, it's actually feeling like calling you. Yeah, it was actually a very touching moment. I felt like, okay, he could have killed us, but without, you know, he was just so friendly. And also, like, there's like one small whale and was trying to bite our producer's leg when he swim, just like trying to play with it like a ball, you know. But it's not very. He didn't even realize. But I saw it from the distance. The whale was biting on his leg. It's like, holy fuck, I'm down. I felt like, okay, my producer gonna lose his leg. But actually, of course, nothing happened. We're just like playing with us. Yeah, there's some sad story. Yeah.
Amazing. I think that's probably where we're gonna end, unless there are any more questions in the audience. I'd like to end by just showing you a 2-minute film. Can we show the film? Just to give you a sense of the boat. But before we end with that, just to say that the exhibition is open. It is, yeah. So do spend time to see the exhibition version of Ocean Cage, because there's other videos and things involved in that, and you can meet the whale if you haven't already. And tomorrow night's performance is sold out. Yeah, I'm looking for, yes, great. But there is still places in the Saturday afternoon performance at 3 o'clock here at Bergen-Kunsthal. So thank you very much to our guests.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your questions. And we'll just end with this short 2-minute video of Arka Kinari.
Well, this part is one of our projects called Laut Laut. Laut in my language is the sea, so it's the loud sea. We are trying to compile the curate musicians on the coastal side of Indonesia. And that's how I met Kadapat.
With the other musicians in the show.
The other musicians in the show. So I met Kadapat before the idea of Ocean Cage even born. Yes.
Who will also play a concert at Bergen Schott on Saturday night. Yeah. So you can also hear them too. So yeah, it's all interwoven. So you'll see them on here. Yes. You'll also see Putu Septa, I think, who was playing in Gamelan Salukat, who visited Borealis 2 years ago. So there's some friendly faces on a boat. And this is filmed all around Indonesia.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. If we can see it, please.
With a series of offshore concerts aboard the cultural vessel Arka Kinari. Join us on this voyage through international waters to find the outer limits of sound. Welcome aboard. Loud, loud.
Amazing. So you can go on to YouTube and find all of these concerts? Yes. Okay, so then you have some homework to do. Thank you very much, everyone. See you at one of the performances.
Thank you.
Thank you.